Hi everyone, it is Monday morning, so I have just dropped the two big kids off and I've got the little pumpkin left. She's a little bit sleepy. Unfortunately, she didn't like being woken up to get in and out of the car at the school, so fingers crossed that she doesn't hold that against me for the rest of the day. How are we feeling? Yeah. So with any luck, my plans for today include writing my newsletter, which usually goes out on a Tuesday, finishing up my blog post, which again gets posted on a Tuesday. I have done about 80% of that one, so that shouldn't take me too long. And then if I have time, because I only have until 3 o'clock today because I have to do the school run, do a little bit more admin and hopefully get some crochet time in, but yeah, who knows what's going to happen today. So wish me luck. So, at the weekend, we made the terrible mistake, given how busy we were, sorry, daughter's toys, of deciding to relocate my crafting space. So I was previously in a bureau desk in the living room. I am now in a bureau desk in the kitchen, not quite the same one. And this bookcase needs to go. All of the stuff still needs organising. I did make a start, but didn't get very far. So wish me luck on that endeavour. So it is reasonably late at night. I have managed to make some good progress on the border of this blanket today, so as soon as that's finished, it'll be ready to go into testing. Fingers crossed this week. I've managed to put my blog to bed, get the newsletter ready for tomorrow. So all in all, not a bad day. Even managed a bit of co-working, so I got to chat to some of my other crochet business friends. So let's see what tomorrow brings. Morning everyone. So today is Tuesday and the big kids have just left for the day, leaving me and the little miss together. Unfortunately, nobody slept very well last night. Between this one and the middle one, there were lots and lots of nightmares, waking up. There was even a wet bed at one point. So yeah, it was what it was. And I'm hoping that things will go a bit better today, or tonight I should say. Now, I was crocheting the border on one of my upcoming blankets last night. I had to wait for the cooler weather and do it in the evening. I had tried to crochet during a co-working session in the morning, which you might have seen. I managed a whole 98 stitches before my hands got so sweaty that the yarn just kept sticking. I'm just like, yeah, that's not good for tension, so I'm going to stop and stuck to computery administrative tasks instead for the rest of the day. However, where's it gone? This happened. So this is the main colour of my border, and I was not 100% convinced that I had enough to finish the next row, let alone the subsequent rows. So I decided to call it a night, especially seeing as this one had had me up at 4:30 in the morning, so I was very tired. Hopefully I can squeeze a trip to the yarn shop in today around all of the other things that I have to get done, so that I can carry on with the border when it cools down tonight, because it's another scorcher outside. I also have a meeting with a tech editor today, not somebody that I've used before, so hopefully that will go well. And I think that is the only meeting that I have officially. So I'm hoping to write my blog post for next week. So usually I'm a week ahead, at least, but due to circumstances of last week, that didn't happen. And so I was scrambling around finishing it yesterday. And then hopefully I can do a bit of crocheting. I'm still waiting for my commission yarn to arrive, so it didn't come yesterday. But as soon as it does, I will be cracking on with that as well. Although unfortunately, I won't be able to share that one with you. All dressed up in the new hat that my 3-year-old picked out for me to go to the yarn shop. Yes, I'm gonna make it on the day where I actually need the yarn. First time in a while. So I've just packed up, ready to go to the yarn shop. And I have to remind myself that I am on maternity leave. Therefore, I must be good and not buy too much yarn. Fingers crossed that I can stick to that. everyone. Today is Wednesday. Yesterday actually went a little better than I thought it would, considering that this one decided not to have too many naps. We managed to go to the yarn shop, didn't we? And Mummy was a very good girl. I only bought the yarn that I actually needed because maternity pay sucks. So I bought one ball of yarn to carry on with my autumn blanket. Hopefully that'll be enough, but I may need to go back and get some orange if I run out of that. And one ball to finish a whip that has been languishing for ages. Literally just needs like the last tiny bit of crochet and a couple of buttons adding and it's finished. But because I ran out of yarn, it's just been sitting in a pile for, oh wow, I dread to think how long. It was my first ever colourwork project. So yeah, a fairly long time it's been sat in that box waiting to be finished. But yeah, it's on my to-do list again. So fingers crossed that it makes it out of the whip box and into the completion pile. I also managed to do some admin. I managed to send my invoice off to the magazine for my first commission. Still waiting for the yarn for my second commission, so I haven't been able to start that yet. Managed to write up the main body part for the next pattern that I will be working on after the autumn blanket. That will go on pause when the commission yarn arrives, but you know, the next one that I'm publishing. And then I crocheted, I think maybe one round before my hands got too sweaty again during the day, so that didn't go so well. And then I just did some other kind of administrative stuff, housework, you know, all that kind of stuff for the rest of the day, because this one wasn't sleeping very much. In the evening I had planned to go to my crochet club, but unfortunately my husband wasn't feeling too well, so I stayed home. And then this one just would not sleep. Every time I put her down, she would wake up screaming. She woke up screaming about 8 or 9 times before we were like, you know what, Cowpole. I don't know what's bothering her, but Cowpole, you know, it wasn't wind, she'd already pooed, and Cowpole did the trick. So she finally went to sleep. By then it was too late for me to do any work though, because I have a really early start on a Wednesday morning. But the children, well I said the older children, are now off at their respective school/childcare providers. And I'm home with just the little one. So as soon as she falls asleep, I will start working. Today I have a co-working session that I'm looking forward to. I love seeing all of the ladies. It just happens to be ladies. We don't have any men yet, I don't think. The ladies that are other crocheters and crochet designers that I get to hang out with on a Wednesday morning. And I won't get quite as many hours to work today as normal, just because my daughter's got an appointment that I need to take her to. One of my older daughters, I mean. And then fingers crossed I can do a little bit of extra work once I've got her, because I only have 2 of them before my husband gets home, at which point it will be sort the kids out and then have date night. So yeah, hopefully I will make some progress on some of my projects today. I am determined to try and have my autumn blanket in testing by the end of the week. That is my biggest goal until the commission yarn arrives, to get it finished and into testing, because literally all I need to do is finish it, take a picture for the testers and weigh it to put the yardage in the pattern, and it's ready to go into testing. That's also the pattern that is going to the tech editor that I spoke to yesterday. So she seemed absolutely lovely, and I'm really looking forward to working with her, and I would like to get her the pattern ASAP. So yeah, fingers crossed that that happens. I'll see you all a little bit later. Happy Friday, everyone. So Thursday was perhaps not the best Thursday ever for my business, but for very good reason. So I managed to get a little bit of crocheting and admin type stuff done once the 2 eldest had gone off. But my husband had a rare day off from work during the week, so we decided to make the most of it. So the 3 of us went out for a lovely lunch. We went and bought a new piece of furniture for this one's nursery because she's going to be moving in there soon. Currently all of her clothes are laid out in her cot, which obviously when she needs to sleep in the cot can't be the case. So we've just bought her a lovely set of drawers, and then went to do boring things like the food shop. So by the time I came home, I had planned to try and squeeze in a video. Yeah, it didn't happen because, well, we ended up having to get my eldest from school earlier than we normally would because our after-school childcare wasn't available this week. So instead, my husband picked her up early. I attended a Q&A session for the Crochetpreneur Business Academy that I'm a part of, which was really useful actually this month even. I actually got to answer, oh my gosh, I can't get the words out today. I managed to get an answer to one of my questions, which was really helpful. And then in the evening, it was a little bit better. So I have my weekly sort of Zoom crochet group on a Thursday, and we met up this week. There was only a few of us, I imagine because of the hot weather, a lot of people are off having fun. And I managed to finish the second border panel for my autumn blanket, hooray. And I've now woven in most of the ends. I've only got a few left to go. Then I've just got to do a few rows around the entire thing just to do the finishing touches. And then it will be ready for testing and tech editing. And then, you know, before you know it, it'll be available to all of you. So hopefully, she says, barring any massive blunder, I should reach my goal of having that into testing by the end of the week. Now, the only thing that might interfere, aside from Father's Day on Sunday, is the fact that I got some happy mail this morning. So the hook and yarn for my commission arrived, which means I can now start work. It arrived when I was on the school run, and there was a little note on the delivery slip that had been pushed through the door saying, oh, we just found this. And I'm just like, so how long have you had my package for before you actually delivered it? I was contemplating sending an email to the magazine next week going, oh, you know, how long does it normally take to arrive because I haven't had anything. Glad I don't have to do that now. Glad I can just crack on with it, given that I need to get it written, tested, you know, make a sample and everything. And in about 6 weeks, I think I've got left until the deadline. So I'm really grateful to be able to crack on, but was a bit bemused by the message that I had left. But yeah, fingers crossed that the children will allow me to do a little bit today. The middle child will be coming home shortly. She just went out for lunch with her grandparents. Then the eldest will be coming home from school, so I probably won't get any more work done until this evening. I have managed a little bit of administrative stuff this morning, just working on emails and blogs and things, but I figured that would be very fun for you to watch. So hopefully you'll get to see me crocheting tonight. See you later. Hi everyone, it is Sunday and my week is over. I have amazingly somehow managed to meet my biggest goal, which is to put my autumn pattern into testing. So it went out to my private tester group today, and it will go out to the more general tester calls that I do in a couple of days, depending on how many spots are left. But that was my biggest goal for this week. So my commission yarn arrived on Friday, so I haven't started that yet. My goal is to start that tomorrow, fingers crossed. But otherwise, despite the hiccups, the ups and downs, my week hasn't been too bad in terms of getting stuff done for the business. As you can see beside me, my desk is now, well, I want to say up and running, but I haven't actually sat at it to work yet. Let's give you a quick look inside my desk. Okay, so I have this lovely Elimee Designs, don't know what you'd call it, hanging on the front, which I got from my Secret Santa, not this Christmas, the Christmas before. So who knows who knitted that for me, but it's absolutely lovely. And if you open it up, it's not the tidiest, apologies. And if I move the chair out of the way just for a second, we can open that too. So you can see I don't just crochet, I sew. I've got my sewing machine in my overlocker. I've got some yarn that I picked up the other day from a local yarn store that unfortunately is closing down. And then I have an array of yarn, so you can't see my top shelf, which is where I've currently got my 4-ply, some cotton yarn, some chenille yarn and some bulky yarn. Here I've got a selection of DK weight yarns along with baskets and pots filled with bits and pieces. This is where I've got those ones that aren't quite so easy to stack, so the kind of rounder skeins. I've got lots of scraps in here, my scraps jar. Behind there I've got all of, well I say all of, a selection of my chunky yarn, and here I have a pot of crochet hooks. Now this is not all of my yarn. I'm lucky enough to say I've got another few boxes in the living room, but I wanted to have some yarn that was accessible and easy to see to help inspire future crochet projects. Underneath the desk is a drawer that, which is full of books of crochet patterns that I have given or have bought. And if I go even lower, ooh, you can see underneath my desk. So these are my inactive whips. This is some more of my chunky yarn, and this trolley, because it's nice and portable, is where I'm keeping my active whips. So hopefully this will help to keep me a little bit more organised and make it easier for me to complete my projects at a reasonable pace, if I can actually find what I'm looking for. Yeah, so my goal for next week is to try something called, well, joining the 5 AM club. What with going back to work in the next few months and not having a lot of time for my business when I go back to work, I'm going to see if that works for me and helps me to be more productive. So stay tuned to see how that goes. Bye bye.